The Disney Channel has been popping out original movies since the early 80s, and we've gotten some pretty memorable films, whether for good reasons or bad, such as Halloween Town, Camp Rock, High School Musical, Xenon Girl of the 21st Century, and more, staples of many of our childhoods. And then there's Can of Worms. I am on a rather short list of people who remember seeing this on the Disney Channel, and then it just disappeared, leaving practically everyone to question whether or not it existed in the first place. What kind of movie would cause those who saw it to assume it was just a fever-induced nightmare? Without further ado, this is my review of Can of Worms. The movie starts off right in the middle of some action with Mike Pillsbury here, played by Michael Schulman, making an intergalactic call, a plea for help really to anyone out there who might be listening. There's a handful of movies that say that might not be such a good idea though, but we need to rewind about 2 weeks in order for this potentially cataclysmic event to make sense. There are two things you need to know about Mike right off the bat. He's quite smart and creative.
You're giving the guy a mental breakdown.
I admit it, it's a good story, isn't it?
This is all primarily for the entertainment of Nick and his little brother Jay, played by Adam Wiley and Andrew Ducati. It does seem that there's some projecting going on with these stories of his. Nothing like being a social outcast to make a guy feel as though he's an alien. Speaking of being a social outcast, Mike's just making sure his nerdy status is solidified through being the worst football player ever. Nobody make fun of his scream, cause that's exactly how I sound. Well, now that he has a concussion, he really is seeing aliens.
How's he doing? Is he gonna be alright? Okay, let's go.
Good luck, son. We love you.
Hey, you wanna help the kid? Motherfucker might drown. Though supportive, in their own way, Mike's family seems to want to put him in a status quo box. It should be a comfort to them that he already has 2 average teen qualifications checked off. He's got a jock bully named Scott, played by Marcus Turner, and a pretty girl crush named Caitlin, played by Erica Christensen. I just want everyone to appreciate the small bit of floppy disk warfare that happens in the computer class between Scott and Mike, because it's glorious. Added bonus is that tech-savvy display sends Caitlin to Mike's house to ask him to help her with the upcoming Halloween dance. The whole process goes great until Scott and his henchmen decide to sabotage things. And naturally this isn't noticed until the dance when it all goes to shit. Which of course results in utter humiliation for Mike. Or at least as close to utter humiliation as a high schooler can get. So this is what led up to Mike sending out his plea for help into the universe. Okay, now that we're caught up, what's next? This really isn't the night for Mike, huh? The next day ain't going so great either. Oh God? Jesus? Is that you? I'm sorry about taking your name in vain all those times last night. Huh. Shouldn't you be swimming with a dolphin somewhere?
I am Barnabas, from the star system Papis.
Oh boy.
My sentiments exactly. So, does this voice sound familiar yet? Malcolm McDowell himself lent his voice for Barnabas here, or at least his voice box device. And with it, he informs Mike that by sending his open invitation out into the Milky Way, he's managed to open what's known as the Stargate. No, not that one. Anyway, Barnabas works for a non-profit organization meant to protect and help lesser life forms. That's why he's here on Earth. So far this checks out. Barnabas also warns Mike that there will be other life forms arriving, who would use him for their own gain. So he needs to leave with him if he truly wishes to no longer be oppressed by his peers. Alright, so if Barnabas looks like a dog, then what could other alien species look like? I'll take something that looks like a cross between a turtle and a wrinkled ballsack over this. Apparently, this is the Bome, voiced by Bruce Lanoil. He's essentially a lawyer. That does explain his slimy nature. Before Mike can decide if he really wants to go with this alien, he gets a call from Caitlin. Now is not a great time to be having a somewhat heartfelt conversation, though.
It seems we can't even talk to each other anymore.
You know, this bit alone put me off eating burgers for weeks. Mike rejects Bohm's offer, and the alien fucks right off. Inviting Nick over for confirmation on what he had just experienced doesn't help, since his friend doesn't even believe him. But whatever, Mike needs to patch things up with Caitlin. Along the way, Barnabas returns, insisting that Mike come with him before things get worse. As it is, because of Mike, Earth is no longer under the intergalactic protection for primitive life. So, Mike is quickly realizing that what he had done the previous night was a mistake. But he's of the mind to leave the planet with Barnabas. First, he needs to say goodbye to Caitlin though. But wouldn't you know it, just when Mike convinces her to talk to him, another alien shows up and ruins it. This particular alien, voiced by Wally Wingert, being the reason for many people's waking nightmares, wants to be Mike's agent and help him get his own series. Hey, if it can work for the Kardashians, it can work for him. Needless to say, Mike gets rid of this alien too. But Caitlin once again assumes Mike is a dipshit. That night, Mike questions his parents on whether or not he's adopted, really trying to uncover possible alien lineage here. Nick, on the other hand, believes that his buddy may need psychiatric help. Thankfully, a trip to the treehouse proves that that may not be necessary. It's just like going to a convention. Clearly overwhelmed by these galactic individuals, Mike and Nick exit the treehouse. A while later, Mike has made up his mind. He's going with them. Well, whichever one wouldn't ruin his life in an entirely new way. Thankfully, Barnabas returns just in time. On his way out, Caitlin arrives as well, and discovers that Mike isn't as insane as he seems, but they've got a bigger problem now.
The worst worm is about to crawl out of the can you opened up, Mike Pillsbury.
Apparently, what we're dealing with here is known as a Thode, a sort of intergalactic poacher. And in order to open the Stargate again and rescue Jay, Mike concocts a plan involving Scott. Nick lures him to Mike's house, and the four of them explain the situation. Scott's not falling for it though, so Mike tries a different approach.
I dare you. You're not scared, are you? No way.
The plan works at least, and they all end up in the Thode's personal zoo. While Scott is placed in a habitat replica of the backyard with Jay, the others search for them and discover some of the other species that have been collected, including one that's exactly like the kind from one of Mike's stories. The issue of how to get them out still remains though.
Well, the Thode must have a key.
Very astute.
This human version of the Thode is played by Hrothgar Matthews. Actually, I take that back. He's dressed like a used car salesman. I don't think that qualifies as human. While Mike, Nick, Caitlin, and Barnabas run for their lives from the Thode, which, by the way, Jay helps Scott chill out by telling him the same story Mike had told him, resulting in Scott gaining more of an understanding of Mike and his perspective of himself compared to everyone else. The group manages to trap the Thode and take his key, which Mike uses to release the alien from his story after he's telepathically shown how to do it. Then they break Jay and Scott out. Now it's time for some more running, so they can escape through the gate. But before that, Mike decides to take one last parting shot at the Thode by setting every imprisoned alien free. Caitlin, Scott, Jay, Nick, Mike, and Barnabas all make it back to Earth, but they aren't safe yet as the Thode also managed to get into the gate, which means they have to stall while the intergalactic police are contacted. While they're waiting, I think it would be wise to give Chris Hansen a call. I'm not fond of the fact that the Thode uses his tongue to catch people. By the way, on the bright side, the police arrive just in time to prevent the Thode from capturing Mike. With the Thode in custody and Earth protected by intergalactic statutes again, Mike makes the decision to stay on Earth, instead of leaving with Barnabas. And while he still sucks at football, at least he's got Scott on his side. And Mike has a more positive outlook on things. And with that, the credits roll. The story/plot of this is really interesting. It's almost similar to flavored seltzer water for me. Stick with me here. You get a taste of something you can enjoy, but it doesn't quite match up to your expectations. It could have been better. It was leading to something, but just kind of dropped the ball. The alien designs and puppetry is pretty impressive. Obviously, each of the different aliens are all practical. The settings and atmosphere are quite pleasant. It definitely feels like a Halloween movie, and manages to come off as almost New England at times. The Thode's habitat looks believable, and very much alien. I like how each of the containment areas look and work as well. While the story is interesting, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. There are plot holes for sure. Need I say that the acting in a Disney Channel movie is over the top? Or do you already know that? While the practical stuff looks good, the CGI is obviously dated. It's kind of funny, actually. With all that being said, I'm giving Can of Worms 5 out of 10 bloody thumbs up. I first saw Can of Worms a number of years ago, and really thought it was an interesting concept. Am I inclined to believe that Mike is actually an alien? Yes. I mean, we clearly saw that it's possible for aliens to appear human, while also having their true alien selves. But maybe that's just me applying my own headcanons to a movie that could have been better. Something that I learned about this movie is that it was actually based on a book by the same name that was written by Kathy McKell. It was published in March 1999, which means that the movie was made in a pretty short time frame. There are even a few more books that pair with Can of Worms, involving Scott and Nick. I've heard and seen people call this the worst Disney Channel original movie ever. Need I remind you of this? While I don't think that Can of Worms is the best that the Disney Channel has to offer, I do think it deserves more credit. It's a unique take on a character making contact with outer space beings plot. It has a good moral message and plenty of imagination. It could have been done better, but all in all, it's an easy and entertaining watch for plenty of people. So whether you remember it as a passing fever dream or outright hate this film, I'm one of likely very few people who enjoys watching it from time to time. I would recommend Can of Worms to Disney fans, alien enthusiasts, kids, or those who are young at heart, who enjoy whimsical adventures, and anyone who's never seen an alien wearing loafers. See you later.